All right, Christina, you ready? Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Carrie, would you like to lead us, please? Thank you.
Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'd like to remain standing. We got the Reverend Peggy Ventris.
Since it was Earth Day and it will be Tree Day on Friday, we have an Earth Day prayer in the spirit of indigenous traditions by Vern Barnett. Infinite Spirit, sometimes called Grandfather, Grandmother, Father Sky, Earth Mother, Creator, we gather to praise your creation, to honor the swimmers and crawlers, the four-leggeds and the winged ones. We give thanks for the beauty and glory of creation and open our hearts to new ways to understand our place in the universe. Not the center or focus, but a humble and balanced place, where every step we take becomes a prayer, where every word we say makes harmony with the vast vibrating cosmos, and where we know we are singing the song of life. We pray to know more deeply that we are in the garden, where every plant and animal and speck of dust is a living prayer. Without our brothers and sisters of the plant and animal and mineral kingdoms, the human family would end. So we want to bless them as they bless us. We pray for humility, not to humble ourselves before presidents or priests, but before the ants and the trees. For if we cannot be in true relation to the ant, we shall be outcasts of the garden. Let us cast the pollution from our eyes so we can see the glory and live with thanksgiving. Great Spirit, let us remember it is not how we talk, but how we walk. When we say we love animals, let us protect them. When we say that we love the plant people, let us honor them by living lightly on the earth. When we say we love the minerals, let us use them only in necessity and remember their rightful places. Oil belongs in the ground, not in the air through our wasteful machines. Wondrous trees, breathing life into the atmosphere. Your gifts of fire and shelter, fruit and sailing are precious to us. And in many ways you offer us leaves of knowledge. May the vision of mutual interrelatedness, cosmic interdependence, and seamless process of generations not end in cough-filled skies blotting the sun, but rather may clear air, healthy forests, wholesome water, expansive prairie, and pungent earth nourish paths for all creatures through mountain and valley and the salt air, and through a protective atmosphere as we rejoice in the inhabitants. Hear and empower our mantra: reduce, reuse, recycle. With thanks for the surprise and mystery of it all, we pray in the name of the Creator. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Wright,
Here.
Councilmember Klink,
Here.
Councilmember Bildering,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ogilvy,
Here.
Mayor Mitz.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. We have no closed session announcements, and we have no changes to the agenda. Okay. Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on demand on the City of Twentynine Palms website at www.twentyninepalms.org. You may also live stream this meeting by going to our website and clicking on Meeting Agenda link. Awards, proclamations, presentations, appointments, presentations of Food for Life and Morongo Basin Arch. And if you'll join the Mayor Pro Tem at the podium, please, or at the podium. She would love to give you some money.
All right, Food for Life?
We have Food for Life first, yeah.
Okay, would you like to tell us where you picked up the trash? What area?
We were on Boyard across from the city yard.
Oh, okay, all right.
Big
we-
yard, but,
Okay.
So, we want to thank the city council for allowing this kind of procedure and this operation. Foods for Life has been honored and blessed to be able to partake and to enjoy the benefits of this type of operation and allow us to continue with the work that we've been blessed to be able to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
On behalf of the council, we really appreciate what you've done. Thank you.
This is Mel, our new president.
All right.
Welcome, Mel.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we have the Morongo Basin Arch.
Yes.
We cleaned up on Adobe Road, not very far from here, on a very windy day. Very windy day, but I think we got it cleaned up pretty well, despite the wind blowing everything around.
Okay. And on behalf of the city, we appreciate all that you've done.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. We deeply appreciate your support.
Okay, thank you. And next presentation is for the Twentynine Palms High School softball team.
Hello, hello. Where did you guys clean up? Are you ladies?
In front of the animal shelter.
Oh, okay, we appreciate that. So on behalf of the city, we like to say thank you, thank you, thank you for what you've done for us.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, I have two proclamations, one for the National Donation of Life Month. If you meet me at the podium, please. Is somebody here? Yeah, yeah. Okay, this is DMV Donate Life Month, whereas organ, eye, tissue, marrow, and blood donation are life-giving acts recognizing worldwide as expressions of compassion to those in need. Whereas more than 108,000 individuals nationwide and more than 21,000 in California are currently on the national organ transplant waiting list, and on the average, 17 people die each day while waiting. Whereas a single individual donation of heart, lungs, liver, kidney, pancreas, and small intestine can save a life. I think it just went off, okay. Whereas California residents can sign up with the Donation Life California Donor Registry online at any time by visiting www.donatelifecalifornia.org, or for Spanish speakers, www.vida. Whereas California residents interested in saving a life through kidney donation may visit www.livingdonationcalifornia.org. Now, therefore, it is resolved that the City Council of Twentynine Palms does hereby proclaim April 2021 to be DMV Donate Life Month, and encourage all residents to check yes on the online or when applying for renewing your driver's license at DMV, dated this 27th day of April 2021. And would you like to speak, Rita? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I truly appreciate that you've taken the liberty of actually proclaiming April Donate Life Month. It means a lot to my organization, which is One Legacy, but more importantly, it means a lot to me as a donor mom. My daughter, Jasmine, became a donor when she was 20 years old. She chose on her own at 17 to register when she got her driver's license. She was actually more excited to tell me that she registered than she was to tell me that she got past her driver's test and got her license. She told me, Mom, there's nothing more I can do. When that time comes, I'll actually be able to save a life, or maybe more than one. It was only 3 years after she actually registered that she walked in the house, sat next to me on the couch, and literally collapsed in my arms and stopped breathing. There was no warning whatsoever. I want people to realize that, especially when someone passes that quickly and suddenly and there's no warning, you don't know what to do because you're thinking, they didn't live a long life. She was 20 years old, 3 weeks before her 21st birthday. She didn't get to graduate from college. There was not gonna be a wedding, there wasn't gonna be children, there wasn't gonna be grandkids. But what she really wanted to do was help others. She was already on the path to get her bachelor's at RCC, onto Cal State for her master's, and she was going to get her doctorate. She wanted to help parents of autistic children. It was her goal to help others. So over the last 8 years, she has helped over 30 people with her tissue donation and saved the life of one with her heart valves. So I am here just to tell everyone that it's really important to consider registering, and even if you don't register, make time for that conversation with your family. Because what happens is if someone passes away and the hospital has to call, they have to make a call when someone's passed away or if they're on ventilator support. And without that decision already made, then it's something that you don't want to be burdened with at that time. So my daughter had told everyone, there was nothing to think about. When they called us, it was like, yes, that's what she wanted. So once again, I thank you for proclaiming this Donate Life Month. And from the bottom of my heart, hopefully everyone here does go to donatelifecalifornia.org. You can read Jasmine's story by putting /Jasmine behind that. And just consider it and talk to your family about it. Thank you again. Thank you so much. I can't even tell you how much this means. I didn't mind driving 2.5 hours to come pick this up in person.
Well, great. We
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
This is, so we have another proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month. Is there somebody here for that? Oh, okay. I'll just read it from up there then. Okay, so this is Child Abuse Prevention Month, whereas all children have the right to receive the care, protection, and guidance a family provides, to be free from harm, to have their physical, emotional, and educational needs met. State and federal governments are proclaimed April 2021 as a Child Abuse Prevention Month for the purpose of promoting community involvement and prevention of child abuse. And whereas more than 32,000 children in San Bernardino County were referred to Children and Family Services for suspected child abuse and neglect in 2020. And whereas for the prevention of child abuse requires rigorous solutions and energy, strength, and determination, and commitment from the concerned citizens of the entire community. The County of San Bernardino provides the services and professionals in the field of child abuse and are dedicated, compassionate, and skilled in prevention of child abuse. And now, therefore, resolved that the City Council of the City of Twentynine Palms does hereby proclaim April 2021 to be Child Abuse Prevention Month and encourages citizens, organizations, schools, nonprofits, and businesses and other entities in the community to encourage in activities and events that assist in the efforts to prevent child abuse and provide for children's physical, emotional, and developmental needs. Dated 27th day of April 2021. Okay, we had the Sexual Assault Prevention Month proclamation also. So now we're going to go to a presentation by the County of San Bernardino Fire, and we'd like to have Chief Scott Tuttle come up, and he's going to introduce everyone and get started.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we have a presentation from our Office of the Fire Marshal. They're going to talk about some new programs and technology they're using to help mitigate risk in our communities and improve safety. So today we have Deputy Fire Marshal Adam Panos, Assistant Fire Marshal Tom Strong, and Assistant Fire Marshal Brian Headley. So we can welcome them, and they have a PowerPoint presentation for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Tuttle. So once again, good evening, Mayor, Council. Adam Panos, Deputy Fire Marshal with the San Bernardino County Fire Department. And I'm here on behalf of my Fire Marshal, Mike Horton, and the department. Chief Horton couldn't be here tonight. So as was mentioned, I do have my staff here who are the experts and subject matter experts in what we're going to talk about tonight. So it looks like we're on the second slide, so I'll just start here. We're here to talk to you tonight about community risk reduction and how we're using computer applications in order to do community risk reduction. That might be an unfamiliar term to some of you, but essentially what it is it's a process where we gather data and we analyze that data on what is occurring in our community. What are the hazards? What are the risks? Where are they occurring? How often are they occurring? And then analyzing that data and figuring out basically how we can better allocate resources in order to address those hazards and risks and get the best results. So I think getting the best bang for our buck is really what it is. So we're trying to work smarter and not harder. So, one more thing I want to mention before we move on. Thank you. So, as I mentioned, it's a data-driven program, and we do, let me see here. I think I covered everything on that slide. I apologize. Okay, you can move on. So in order to collect this data, the applications that we use are graphic information systems. And so we plot the data on maps. We use the Esri mapping platform. And in doing that, as I mentioned, we're able to plot those locations, but also embed the data as far as what kind of event or what kind of incident or what kind of hazard or whatever we're plotting on that map. In the future, we'll be able to do what's called spatial analytics, and so it's not just having the dots on a map, but also being able to do sort of a predictive kind of logic to where we can predict hazards from occurring in the future. And of course, we have a negotiated software agreement with the county. Next slide. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to introduce one of our assistant fire marshals, Tom Strong, and he's been instrumental in developing these applications. Tom?
Thank you, Adam. Good evening, Mayor, Council, City staff. One of my duties as an assistant fire marshal is develop applications to assist in the collection of data, as Adam was explaining, for community risk reduction. Tonight I'm going to talk about, do you guys have the clicker? Or? Okay. That's okay. Yeah, just so I know who I'm nodding at. It'll only take me about 55 minutes to get, no, I'm kidding. I won't bore you to death with all my stuff. But tonight I am going to talk about 3 of the current applications that we're using. One being the vacant building application, the other damage assessment, and our illegal fireworks. Next slide, please. The damage assessment app is an all-risk damage collector. Prior to the use of the application, the methodology included a mixture of paper and electronic damage assessment surveys. The manual process of data entry resulted in inaccurate data and redundant office efforts. The need for a more effective and accurate rapid damage assessment application was apparent. The new application was developed in August of 2019 and has been used successfully on multiple incidents. Last year, we actually were in NACO, the National Association of Counties, for the development of that particular application as well. With the new data and the new application that we're using, we're able to conduct damage assessment surveys digitally using our iPads, standardize the collection process, one survey containing all the correct and appropriate questions for all incidents, including wildland fires, earthquakes, weather-related, and most recently, civil unrest. The property information is self-populated into our reports, being transferred from the assessor's office. It provides real-time data dashboards as seen on the slide, as well as a collection of photos and the generated automatic report. So by looking at the dashboard that you can see, this was actually on the Apple fire or El Dorado fire. So the incident commander, as well as myself, being able to see what my teams are doing out in the field. At that time, I had 14 homes that were destroyed, 2 minor, and 1 affected. So this data is live feed going right back into the incident command post. And instead of the days of me being in a command post till 3 o'clock in the morning, getting the information out the next morning, we're now live data and up and running. So that alone has been a great tool for us. Next slide, please, sir. Our vacant building reporter was recently completed and released for use. Vacant buildings pose a greater risk of loss due to fire, water damage, theft, and vandalism. The application allows fire prevention staff to conduct surveys digitally using mobile devices such as the iPad. The survey of these vacant buildings gives fire and our cooperating agencies the ability to know the locations of these properties, including photos, property owner information, real-time dashboard, and real-time updated map as seen on the slide. So again, this is in San Bernardino City. This was a building that I had a fire at recently. The cooperation between myself and the code enforcement, we're able to go in and consider this a building that needed to come down as an immediate threat to firefighters as well as the public, and the building came down. We've had great success so far in the city. I'm over San Bernardino City. It's one of my areas of responsibility. This has been an instrumental tool for me and my staff within the city. Next slide, sir. So this is the one that everybody likes to hear about. This is our online illegal fire reporting system. Next slide, please. Version 1 was released to the public on June 17th of 2020. Version 2, with upgrades from the original version, was released officially to the public on April 1st, 2021. The reporter can be accessed by using a QR code or going to sbcfire.org and clicking on Report Illegal Fireworks. The simple online survey allows citizens the opportunity to report the use or sales of illegal fireworks 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year, with the opportunity to remain anonymous. Next slide, please. Once you go on and complete that survey, you can then link onto a public dashboard, which gives the total amount of reports that we've received up to this point. And we only allow a heat map, so people can't draw down to the exact location. Like me and my staff were able to go right down on a satellite view. With this, we only allow a view of about a quarter of a mile or so. That way it keeps anonymity for a lot of the people as well. Next slide, please. The field officer dashboard is a real-time dashboard which is giving patrol officers and staff the exact location and details of complaints received. This was last year, about 2 weeks into the use of it. And as you can see, as the officers are out in the field, each one of those yellow dots are highlighting a report that we had received. Officers then know what areas to concentrate the reported areas and really work those areas for hopefully getting some of those fireworks either confiscated or an administrative citation written. Next slide, please. The reports received for illegal sales are referred to the investigation unit. The investigators work with the appropriate law enforcement agencies for disposition of the complaint. Last year, one of the reports we received was in the city of Fontana, and the investigation unit worked with Fontana Police Department. 2 of the people received a citation, and a large quantity of fireworks were seized in the garage. So again, as I monitor this several times throughout the day, any reports for illegal sales that I'm getting through this are immediately turned over to our investigation unit for disposition. Adam?
So thank you, Tom. So a little bit about the fireworks enforcement programs that we do in the county fire department. Our 2020 statistics, we saw a huge uptick. 2,048 complaints received, as you can see through the app. 1,268 just in San Bernardino County Fire jurisdiction, of which 29 Palms is within our jurisdiction, and then 780 even outside of the jurisdiction. And so when we receive complaints outside or reports outside of our jurisdiction, we forward them to the authorities having jurisdiction for those areas. Next slide, please. And so this just shows you some graphs of the activity that we have. The orange is citations that we issue during our interdiction. That's an operation we do at the state line where we intercept fireworks coming over from the border. And then also we do fireworks enforcement patrols as well with law enforcement. There we talks about the fireworks that we seize, the number of pounds as well. As you can see, there's an uptick there. I mean, just over the past 3 years, literally hundreds of citations, thousands of pounds, and thousands of dollars in fines. So I'm going to turn it over to Brian Headley, He's one of our assistant fire marshals, and he is our fire investigations supervisor, and he's going to talk a little bit about how we use the app for arson.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. As Adam said, I'm the Assistant Fire Marshal in charge of the Arson Investigation Unit. Just giving you a small snapshot of the kind of things we do tonight. It would take quite some time to go over everything. So as you can see, we do a lot of things. We run this group with 6 investigators. They're all post-qualified. They're all former suppression personnel, and they're all California State Fire Marshal Certified Fire Investigator 1s. They're complete case agents. They start a case, they finish it, they see it all the way through to adjudication. All our investigations are performed to the standard of NFPA 921 for a systematic and complete investigation. As you can see on the bottom of that slide there, we have a new tool coming, a canine program. It says inception April 2021. Our investigator handler is in New Hampshire currently picking up that dog. He'll be back on Tuesday of next week, and dog's name is Dinty, like the beef stew. And it's a black lab, about 4 years old. It's a great tool. We haven't had a dog in 20 years. Sheriff's Department hasn't had one for what's called IGL, ignitable liquid, in 7 years. So we're glad to have that back. We got the next slide. Interdiction. We do fireworks interdiction on the I-40 and the I-15 corridor, mostly coming out of Las Vegas at the agricultural check station. What we do is we set up there with the ag check inspectors, and as they find their fruits and vegetables and firewood and things like that, they come across fireworks coming in from the Nevada area, Pahrump mostly. We seize those fireworks. Last year we set up for just 7 days on the weekends of June, not including Father's Day weekend. We seized 45,000 pounds of fireworks, issued 221 citations, which resulted in $277,000 in fines. And these are administrative citations. So all the money comes back into our program for enforcement, and we reuse that money. You can get the next slide. A couple things we have in development. No contact administrative citations, illegal marijuana grow sales operations, a map that we designed to keep our crews safe. I'll touch on that a little bit. And an arson map to plot fires, arson registrants, juvenile fire setters, and take those cases to court so that we can show patterns of fires. If you go to the next one. No contact administrative citations on 4th of July. It's always an issue when a prevention officer goes to someone's house after 4th of July when it gets dark and makes that contact to that person. It's usually not a comfortable issue for a prevention officer or an investigator or a deputy or anybody. So this program is in development still. It's waiting for approval from the county council. What it is using Tom's maps that he described. We would pull up in front of a house, see the fireworks going off, take a video or a picture, tap some information on a map to pinpoint where we're at. It'll preload all that property owner's information into the citation, and then we send that property owner a citation. The property owner is the ultimate responsibility for this, whether they have a renter or not, is the way that we're understanding it. Whether they want to feed that back to the renter or not, that's up to them. But like I say, this is still in development. We're hoping to get it approved by 4th of July this year, but that's where we're at on that. This is our arson mapping. Again, another one of those maps that Tom talked about. This one allows us to plot maps that all those dots are fires that my investigators went to. We run between 700 and 900 fires a year with 6 people. It's over 125 fires per person. This allows us to go in, interview people, interview witnesses, subjects, suspects, juvenile fire setters, and the different colored dots represent those items. So if we see a pattern of fires around a registered arsonist's house, that gives us a clue. Maybe we should go talk to this guy. All that information is placed into this application. So again, live out in the field, if someone's been on vacation for 2 weeks and all of a sudden they get a fire, they can pull up all that back information instantly and see who they spoke with, where the fire was, all that information that they need. That's it in a nutshell. I'm going to reintroduce Chief Tuttle and Adam if you have any questions.
So, as you can see, a lot of cool stuff that we're doing. Does anyone have any questions? And I'll take those questions before I turn it back over to the
What's the
chief.
percentage of money that you get back out of that 277,000, or does everybody seem to be paying that?
You're referring to the citations?
Yeah.
So, of course, some of that goes to administrative costs because we pay a third-party company to collect those citations. We're looking at using them for other services like mailing out the citation, but, and then, of course, the percentage of those individuals that get cited, they only collect on a percentage of those, and then they also have a collection process where they attach their tax returns and things like that. So it's really hard to say what percentage, but it's most of it.
So I was gonna say, so you must be getting most of it if you're doing what you're doing. Okay.
I have a question. So when you input your data, are you using some type of algorithm or something?
Oh, well, the data is inputted into fields, like you would input into it like any kind of database.
Mm-hmm.
And then from those fields, it records the data, embeds it into like a point on a GIS map. Tom could explain it in a little more technical terms, so I'm,
In a nutshell, it's geocoding your location.
Mm-hmm.
So once you, as long as you're on a mobile device, it's gonna geocode your location and pinpoint it. So what we've done is allowed it where you can change the address, because if it's your house that you're at, and you're cattling on a neighbor a couple of doors down, you can actually then change it to that address by putting in the correct information, and then it'll geocode over to that address. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
Anybody have a question? You have a question?
Yeah, you mentioned illegal marijuana a couple of times in there. Are you currently involved in any operations out here? That's not a problem, and I was just wondering if you were involved in any way.
They're all over the county. It's really a law enforcement function. I mean, the sheriff will take the lead in something like that. But as far as us tracking, where those grows are taking place, a lot of times it's a fire concern as well too. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. About that map, due to many grows that you speak of out in this area, what was happening is we were getting illegal burns at night. They burn their trash, they burn all kinds of things. When our crew showed up at the gate there,
No.
without any police backup. So we developed that map with the help of the sheriff's department to show our crews and put in the CAD notes that you really can't go to this address without some type of law enforcement.
Good.
That's what the main purpose of the map is.
Could I get you to come up to the mic and just kind of repeat that into the, no? Sorry, I should have asked you to come up sooner. I was just listening to the question also, so, sorry, but it's for the folks on the internet.
Sure. The marijuana grow map was developed in conjunction with the sheriff's department for the safety of our crews. Crews were responding to illegal burns at night when they burn their trash and paraphernalia, whatever they burn, and being met at the property with armed individuals. So this is a safety precaution that if they get a call at one of these addresses, it's already in our CAD system, it's already on the map, don't go to that address without some type of law enforcement backup.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
My question is, how much is the citation for the fireworks being stored? And on top of that is, what is the turnaround time if the property owner or somebody's shooting off fireworks on the property, which is say it's an Airbnb or short-term rental? What's the turnaround time for them to receive the citation?
Okay, so the first part is $1,250, the cost of that citation. As far as the time frame where they receive a citation, so there's different ways that what we've done it in the past. In the past, we patrol around areas that we think, based on past experience, where there's a lot of activity. This time around, what the app allows us to do, the fireworks reporter app that is we've got all these reports. They're plotted on a GIS map, kind of like Tom showed you, where you have, kind of like a heat map, although on our end, we can see the actual points of where the fireworks reports have come in. Those represent areas where we're going to focus our patrols on. Again, it's that, focusing our resources in the best possible way. We go and patrol those areas. We can either make contact with folks that are doing it and write them a cite right there. As soon as we make contact with them and write them a citation, it's done. It's in the books. It gets sent like the next week, and they owe it within 30 days. If If it's a no contact citation, that's a little bit different. We're still working on that part of it. We don't know if we're gonna use that as a sanction, but that would be the same thing. It would be nailed to the property owner. As soon as they receive it, it's 30 days.
Okay. We have one more question.
I'm curious about this no contact citation for the fireworks. If you drive by and you see someone setting off a bunch of dangerous fireworks, you send them a bill, basically, they don't get it for a few days or a couple weeks. Are you concerned that the rest of that night, they're not gonna stop, and they're gonna continue this dangerous activity? Like, there's no...
Sure, yeah, I mean, that is a concern. The thing about it is really, the whole concept of the no contact citation is for the purposes of it's just impossible to contact them. We have a lot of areas in the county, well, out here in the desert, the property is so big, it's secured, we can never get back there. Areas where, rough neighborhoods, it's an officer safety issue. So it allows us just another tool in our tool bag to be able to ensure our safety, but still hold people responsible, so.
So you're saying you might not use that every time, sometimes you might still go without it.
Right, it just depends on the situation. We don't anticipate doing away with the traditional, patrolling around and we catch somebody writing a citation. And again, I mean, just for everyone's knowledge, illegal fireworks problem in California is just huge now. It's just gotten way out of control. It's a multifaceted problem. It's way bigger than us. It's almost bigger than the state of California, really, when you look at the fact that they're coming over from other states. And they cause injuries, they cause fires. In some cases, they cause deaths, such as the explosion in Ontario that I'm sure you guys have heard about. So in an effort to try to do something, we're not going to solve the problem, but what we're going to do is we're going to use the resources we have to kind of make the biggest impact that we can. We're going to apprehend some people from doing this dangerous illegal behavior. We're not going to catch everybody, but we're going to do our part. And in doing that, we're trying to send the message that, hey, think twice about doing this. There's always going to be people with criminal intent that are going to do it, but we're hoping that we're going to make that impact.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much for your presentation, and hopefully everybody's listening out there. Because if I heard him right, it's $1,050 for the...
$1,250.
$1,250, right. $1,250 for shooting illegal fireworks off, so please pay attention, because that sounds like a lot. Okay, Frank, we're going to introduce our newest city employee.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. It's my pleasure, Abigail, if you could please, to introduce our one of our new employees, Abigail Hernandez. Abigail is starting with us as our Assistant Finance Director, with Cindy Canary going to retire. Abigail is joining our team, and we are, it's bittersweet, obviously, and we'll have a celebration for Cindy at a later date. Today, we want to introduce Abigail and welcome her to our team and welcome her to our community. Abigail comes to us with a lot of experience and credentials. She comes to us with a CPA. She's a certified public accountant, and also she's has her master's in accountancy. So we're very fortunate to have that expertise coming to the city. She's lived in the Coachella Valley, and one of the things I like to do is, we know what people do, but to know a little bit more personally about them. And I asked Abigail just to, share a little bit about herself. And she's lived in the Coachella Valley for 17 years. She immigrated from Puebla, Mexico at the age of 16. And she's married to a wonderful husband, and she described it that way, wonderful husband. So kudos to you and to him tonight, right? Giving him those accolades. For 12 years, and have a beautiful 10-year-old daughter named Yuretsi. Yeah. In the summer of 2018, she graduated with high honors from Cal State University, San Bernardino, obtaining both a BA and a Master's of Science in Accountancy. 2 years later, she obtained her CPA, or Certified Public Accountant license, after passing a rigorous 4-part exam. Prior work experience, she has 2 years of auditing and taxation at Rogers, Anderson, Malady, and Scott. They are our city auditors. We actually, she was auditing us. She was one of our auditors, auditing the city, and we stole her from them. So fortunately, they trained her, and we were able to bring her into the city. So thanks to Rams for that. She also worked 2 years in accounting in the hospitality industry, and also worked for Riverside County Sheriff's Department as an office assistant for 2 years. During her free time, she likes to do arts and crafts with her daughter and solving, what kind of puzzles? Sudoku puzzles. So again, we'd like to welcome Abigail to our team. So. Abigail, put you on the spot here.
Yeah, well, can I remove? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sorry. So I just wanted to say, Mayor, council members, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm very pleased to be here. Everybody has been very welcoming, and I just, I'm very excited for the opportunity, and I look forward to work with and for you. So again, thank you. And if you have any questions, just feel free to email me, call me. Again, I'm very, very happy, and thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And welcome. Okay, council comments and reports and meetings attended. Joel.
I'll take mine off too. First of all, I think this is the only meeting we had in April, so I want to wish everybody a happy birthday celebrating in April here in Twentynine Palms, especially, and then also in the Morongo Basin. Welcome, Abigail, to the team. Look forward to working with you for at least three years. Then I'll be gone. Thank you very much to the San Bernardino County Fire for giving that great presentation. We appreciate you coming all the way out here to give that to us. Almost the last place that you guys get to go to, besides Needles and wherever you have to go. My family would like to thank everyone for their love, thoughts, prayers, and flowers on the passing of our mom, grandma, great-grandma. She was a beautiful, loving woman and friend. She had a heart of gold, and she will be truly missed, so we appreciate all your love and support that we received about the last month that she passed away. So thank you.
Steve.
Once again, welcome aboard, Abigail. I attended the ribbon cutting ceremony for the desert, the place with the swing in the dressing room.
Is it
Y'all know what I'm
Dreams?
talking about, huh? What's it called? The place you buy your High Desert Daydream? Yeah, y'all, all your stuff you buy there. I saw that. So, attended that, took some pictures in the dressing room swing, so hopefully we get online. We made a day of it. That's all we really did, and continued prayers to the Cleat family. That's all I got, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mac?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the High Desert Daydream ribbon cutting as well. I didn't do the swing, though. I didn't think it would hold me, so I don't know.
I was thinking it wouldn't hold me either, so we were on the same boat.
I did go, we did have an MBTA meeting. Almost missed it, actually. Danny had to give me a call. So we did that, and welcome to Abigail. And want to remind everybody that National Day of Prayer is coming up May 6th, and we're going to be right out there in Veterans Park at 7 a.m. and then again at noon. So we want to invite everybody to join us then, and we still got you lifted up in prayer, Mr. Clint. And that's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Welcome, Abigail, and thanks to our fire department for that really good report. It was very detailed. I enjoyed it. I did not attend any official meetings, but I always give my shameless plug as a nurse for the healthcare district. I did COVID vaccines over the weekend here in 29 Palms, and anytime that we have a weekend clinic, I feel compelled to do it so I can continue to serve the community.
Okay, well, thank you. I also attended the MBTA meeting since it was here. It was fun calling Mac, though. He got here quick. And then we had an air quality meeting yesterday. It sounds like they didn't give me too many details because I did mine over Zoom. But I guess we're getting an electric train. And I'll keep you more informed about that. I don't know if it's like the train is going to be electric. We're not getting it. Twentynine Palms. It's on the train tracks. A real train that's going to be electric without the electrical stuff. So I'll have more details the next time. They really weren't too detailed because they'll let us know more about it. But as you know, they're trying to go to everything electric, and I guess we're going to get an electric train, which I imagine is battery operated. So I also went to the ribbon cutting ceremony, which was quite well attended, so it was good. And welcome, Abigail, and the fire department. Thank you. And that was very informative about the fine. I don't think everybody realizes what that fine's going to be when they get it in the mail. So, and also my condolences to the Klink family, as always. Thank you. And that's all I have. Okay, consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar to be considered routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately by the city council. The public may be given an opportunity to comment on the consent calendar items prior to the city council action. Does anybody want to pull any items from the consent calendar? Hearing none. Anyone from the public like to pull any items from our consent calendar? Seeing none, okay, we'll bring it back for a motion.
I'll move the consent calendar as written.
Okay, a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second. Okay. And I will be abstaining from when I vote item number 9, which is the approval of the project fittings warrant register totaling $456,379.52.
Councilmember Bildering?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Klink?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ogilvy?
Aye.
Mayor Mitz?
Aye.
Approved 5-0.
Thank you. We had no items removed, and we have no public hearings. Our first discussion item is art in public places.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, this presentation, Art in Public Places, the city banner project, will be presented by our Public Arts Advisory Committee, Ms. Pat Flanagan.
Thank you, Mayor and council members, and I didn't know I was going to be presenting, so if you would not mind if I just read this so that you get the best. In order to promote art in public places and foster art appreciation within the city, the Public Arts Advisory Committee, called the PAC, recommends that colorful, attractive banners be created from artwork and hung from streetlights using the existing banner arms on the poles. These banners would be displayed between major events for which the city has other banners, 4th of July, December, holidays. So that when you drive down the road, you've got that look that we're celebrating life. A call for art for the city banners was issued via artist email lists and media releases in early 2020. The artwork was to be vertical to allow for formatting into a banner design. The theme was Mojave Desert flora and fauna. 20 submissions were received and juried by the PAC members. 6 banner designs were selected. These designs would repeat for an approximate total of 45 banners. All artists have local or regional connection to 29 Palms and donated their artwork to the city banner project. Each banner would have an Art in Public Places logo at the top and the artist's name at the bottom to credit the artist. The 6 designs chosen were, and you have pictures of those, plus you got an updated picture of one. So Rennie Armstrong highlights the blue watercolor, Jenny Batt, the Joshua Gateway left, the Naomi Luke Brown Joshua Tree is orange, Hannah Campbell is Moon Wish, Hannah Campbell is Bobcat, and Kelly O'Sullivan is Desert Lily. So did you all see, these are on your...
I had them up on the screen too as you were...
Thank you.
Yeah.
An image of each artwork is attached, okay. And the city council should know that the fiscal impact for this is $3,500, and that will come from the PAC's annual budget of $15,000. So, thank you. Any questions?
Anybody questions for Pat? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we're not moving on any of this, right?
I'm sorry?
We don't have to move on this, right?
Yeah, looking for approval.
Oh, we are looking for approval? Okay, so we need a, oh, that's right, because we're going to hang them. Okay, so I need a motion. Well, first of all, do we have any discussion? I got a little out of step on that one. Do we have any discussion from the council? Do we have any? None? Anybody from the public like to make a comment on this item? Seeing none? Okay, now we're back to a motion.
I'll move the city council approve the proposed designs of the art banners to be hung from streetlights around the city.
Second.
Okay, a motion is second. Any other discussion? Hearing none?
Councilmember Klink,
Aye.
Councilmember Wright,
Aye.
Councilmember Buildering,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ogilvy,
Aye.
Mayor Mitz.
All right.
Approved 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 16, Recreation Department Programs and Service Update.
I'm going to remove this. It's easier for me to talk. So, good evening, Mayor and council members. So, as you're aware, as positive coronavirus cases have continued to decline and vaccinations are becoming available to additional age groups, the governor is planning on lifting the colored tiered restrictions for the entire state of California on June 15th. And has provided information to all industries in the Moving Beyond the Blueprint document. The Recreation Department staff has reviewed the document and is preparing to reopen all programs, services, and facilities to the public as we move past the restrictions that have been placed upon us by the state and county over the past year. We'll continuously monitor the health and safety of all employees, participants, volunteers, coaches, as we begin to return to normal. We'll practice common sense health and safety practices such as wearing masks indoors, regular cleaning and disinfecting of surfaces. We'll also implement contact tracing in case one of our employees or participants should contract the virus. So this is an exciting time for all of us, and we're prepared to start returning to normal with your approval. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those for you.
And Mr. Mayor, the other one that we want to touch upon is the 4th of July.
Yes, that's next, yes. So, in addition to us opening up all of our activities, we have an issue that needs to be discussed. It's the upcoming Independence Day celebration. So Tortoise Rock Casino has notified the city that they're planning to offer a fireworks display at the casino on July 4th. As you know, the Basin and the city have shared the cost of the alternating who displays the fireworks every other year. This year it's our turn to host the event, and rather than competing with the casino, we can collaborate with them while banking the $40,000, which can be used to add additional activities and events to the community that we serve. So our options are, we move forward and hold the event as planned July 4th at Lucky Park. So essentially we would have 2 firework displays at 2 different locations. The cons of this would be competing with the sponsor, availability of fire department staff to monitor 2 events at 2 sites, low attendance at each venue because they would be spread out, and then the pros would be 2 fireworks displays and community tradition. The second we have is have the casino host the fireworks display, with the Recreation Department offering Knott Sky Park as the venue for activities and viewing of the fireworks. This will allow for family-friendly activities, vendors, music, and potentially adding additional activities for the community to enjoy. The cons are, it's not traditional or what the community's used to. Parking and restrooms, which are issues that we've addressed. We've already found solutions to those. The pros would be less stress on the fire department. The viewing area is large and unobscured. It's a beautiful area up there. We have grass, shade, the picnic shelters, the large upper field for viewing, and space for vendors. We also have the ability to add water slides and additional activities and features with some of the money that could be saved. So we've signed a contract with Pyro Spectacular already, and we've sent a deposit for the fireworks. So we'll just need to reach out to all the parties as soon as possible to coordinate an action plan.
Yeah, and if I may, so the casino has said that they would still use our vendor for the fireworks to continue that.
Sorry, were we able to get a hold of them to see if they would change it?
Yes.
What'd he say?
He said yes.
He said yes. Okay. So what's the third option?
Third option would be not a great one, Pioneer Park. It's closer to the casino, but there's not really anything over there. It's not developed. It's just an open dirt lot. So we like the idea of having it at Knott Sky Park because it's different, but that's okay. We've been doing different for over a year now with everything that we've done.
That's
You
correct.
know, why not give it a shot, see how it works? You know, Christina and I took a trip over there. We have the electricity for the vendors. We have everything that we need over there at Knott Sky Park. We'd have to bring in porta potties, which is what we do at Lucky anyway.
Yeah.
We've also reached out to the water district. They've given us approval to use their parking lot as well as the dirt area in front of their property, which is adjacent to ours. So we can work with Public Works in regards to mapping out a traffic control plan as well.
Okay.
So, Mayor, may I? I'm not happy with this at all.
Understandable.
Tortoise Rock, the casino, they know what our July 4th celebrations are. We would switch back and forth to the Marine Base and here. To all of a sudden come up and say after 7 years that we're going to have the 4th of July fireworks and that's final. I say fine, let them go ahead and do it and let's have ours on July 3rd. It's a Saturday night. We'll get everybody here and let them do their thing over there. I probably won't even go to it. That's how
Well, it threw a
not
wrench-
happy I am about
It threw
this.
a wrench in our plans as well, and Christina and Frank and I have been having conversations back and forth on how we can make this happen, how we can still provide an event for the community. Might be a different location, but we can still do the activities and things of that nature that we do at Lucky Park.
You know, so maybe we need to, why didn't they come and sit down with the base and the city and them, like maybe at the beginning of the year and say, hey, we want to get involved in this. Let's do every third year, you do one, we do one, and the base do one. Instead of just, right now, we're going to do it. We don't care what you say about it, too bad.
Yeah, and the base, and the casino said, I guess Chairman Mike wanted to do, you know, a fireworks in the Coachella Valley at Spotlight on Saturday and wanted to do one up here. Yeah, that was the correspondence we got is, you know, Chairman Mike wanted to do it up here as well. So you're right, absolutely, you know, better, you know, conversations of how to deal with this from a long-term perspective. But we are where we're at today.
And you know what, it's fine, like I said, why didn't they come up and I hope they're listening to this or they're watching right now, I'm upset about it. Why didn't they come up at the beginning of the year and say, hey, we'd like to get involved in this? We'll do it next year.
Yeah, in the past, what they used to do is just sponsor ours, you know, give us.
That's
you know,
true.
so give us $1,000 or something like that.
That's fine, but to just come in and say, we're gonna do this and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, it's not right for the citizens of 29 Palms and families.
If I may just add a comment. We're a military town, and I'm not sure if we should deviate from offering 4th of July fireworks on July 3rd. 4th of July, we celebrate our independence, and we would like to celebrate our military. So I think having it on July 3rd is an option for us, but I think we should stick to July 4th.
Oh, I got a question.
Okay.
So they're using the same,
They would like to use
Power
the
tech.
same contractor, yes. If we were to say, okay, you guys go ahead and do the fireworks, they'll pay for them and use the same contractor. If we decide to have the fireworks display on our own, do our own event, they're gonna have to find somebody to do it. Could be the same contractor, we're not sure.
So,
That would be something that they would have to do on their own.
yeah, so then my suggestion is, because I agree with keeping it on the 4th, and just do 2. I mean, like if they start at 9, because they usually last about 20 minutes, then start ours at 9:30.
That's an option too. It's, you know, we're just trying to make the best of the situation. We're trying to find other alternatives. You know, we serve the public, so regardless of what's gonna happen, we'll do what the council wants us to do. We just thought that, you know, it could save $40,000, which we can put into other programs and activities up there at Knott Sky Park. We don't have to spend the whole $40,000. We can, you know, we can add to Pioneer Days, we can add to our Light Festival, we can do lots of other things with that money as well. And Joel, I agree with you. You know, like, we're not happy about it either, but unfortunately, you know, the saying is, it is what it is. They're gonna do it regardless. We just have to make sure that we have a plan, we get direction from the council so we can move forward, because there's a lot of different things that go on behind the scenes that people really aren't aware of. It's a lot of work to put something like this together. So we've got the contract, we've already paid the deposit. We need to let the contractor know what our plans are moving forward. We gotta start the ball rolling here pretty quickly.
I would think that it would be more better for us physically, as in money-wise, to save the $40,000 and use it someplace else. I mean, because what city, what municipality is not struggling with money issues? So I would say to do the Knott Sky Park and to save money and use it elsewhere.
I'm going to be very interested next year when they have to deal with the base. I'm not
Yes,
saying
so,
anymore.
so are we. And I think this will give us an opportunity to kind of plan for what the future holds. You know, what is their plan? What do they want to do? Are they going to want to offer fireworks every single year? Those are questions we don't have answers to yet. So it'll give us time to have those conversations with our partner, our community partner, which is the casino. You know, like I said, they are a sponsor. They've sponsored many of our events through Park and Rec. We had a pretty good relationship. We're not sure as to the whys behind it either. That's not a question that I have an answer to, unfortunately.
Steve, you have something?
I got a lot of stuff. I believe we should take advantage of the opportunity to save some money and put it back into the city, Pioneer Days and stuff like that, because we missed Pioneer Days last year. So let's bring it back bigger this year with that money we save, make it easier for y'all to Knott Sky Park, try something new, take advantage. It's a marketing scheme for the casino. COVID's lifted, so they're trying to get people in by doing fireworks. Good for them. I say we piggyback it, let them be successful, let them fail, but be prepared to do it next year if the base doesn't want to do it. And we got 9 to 10 months to negotiate a way, maybe get a 3 thing going on casino, us, base, where we all can save some money later on. But 4th of July means a lot to me. I know it does a lot of us, so it does. I feel it, but at the same time, $40,000 to be saved and let someone else do a lot of the burden and give our staff some rest and get ready to go into a high tempo season that they've been off for a while. So if you guys are recommending to let them do it and go to Knott Sky Park and still provide for the citizens, and you guys are the ones to be out there sweating and doing it, I will really take your recommendations. And we save money. But next year, if the base is doing it, good for them, we'll support it. The following year, it's our turn again. If a casino pulls a move like this again, we're just gonna do our own. We'll give them a chance to do their thing, but after that, it's either get on board with the 3 of us, or we're just gonna double it up every year after that. I mean, they're not gonna come and bully, but if you wanna try something new, we'll play along, we'll show the branch. But if you wanna be a bully, then we're just gonna do our own thing too. So we can play just big ball with them too, but let's save $40,000. I mean.
And also, we won't be overtaxing the fire department.
No, that's a big concern too, but let's take their money. I mean, I don't want to say it like that, but let's do that, save money for us, for our own people, so we'll put it back into our community. It's a win-win, fireworks, easier on y'all and we get more money for our people. So I think we should take advantage of it. You look at it like that. I know, Joe, you're mad. I get it. I'm mad too. But if we can take some money and save some money, let's legally take some money. Let's do it. That's my recommendation.
Well, this whole year has been interesting anyway. One of the opportunities that we could take is a lot of people still don't even know Sky Park is there in the city itself. We have a lot of new locals. We have folks from the base, and obviously we have the dog park that's there that people still don't know we even have. So I guess when I first heard this, my first reaction was basically the same as Joel's, because it did not make me happy that we had already been planning this, our staff, basically then we're wasting staff hours if we're having to change all this, and plus you're gonna have to use new staff hours to readjust. So, but I would like to keep the money though that we allocated for this for the community. We were gonna blow this up anyway with the fireworks. So if we can use the 40,000 to put it back in all the programs for Park and Rec that normally they wouldn't have the money for, say, for this event, and also, we didn't have Pioneer Days last year. We can offer something new to the citizens of Twentynine Palms with additional, because we'll have the money sitting there that could have been already there. So they'll actually get more bang for their buck on this one. But I also agree with Steve that this needs to be planned ahead of time by them and us and the base, because I guarantee you that, I can't guarantee, but I can't believe that the government would be able to change gears like we're going to change. We're obviously more flexible than they are, and they have a lot more reasons to be non-flexible. They have security reasons that we can't even talk about. So I guess my recommendation also would be that we go ahead and do Knott's Berry, I always call it Knott's Berry, not Sky Park. Hey, Knott's Berry Farm guy made the place up there. Not a lot of people know that. He used to fly his airplane in there. Mr. Knotts did. That's how it comes called Knott Sky Park. Anyway, yes, that's, no solution is going to be the greatest for anybody at this point because it's so close to it, but at least we can get a lot more for the citizens, and that's what we're here for, so. But does anybody have any more comments? Because I'd like to see if we have anybody from the public like to talk. No one? Anybody from the public that's here that would like to? Yes, come on up to the microphone, please. State your name. And then after you're done, you have to fill out a slip so Cindy doesn't throw rocks at me.
Oh, okay. My name's Elliot Balsley. I hear the council members' concerns about kind of feeling bullied, and that totally makes sense to me. I love the idea of saving the money, though, but I guess I'm concerned that this would kind of create an expectation that the city owes the casino something in exchange for this gift of $40,000, and I wouldn't want that to happen.
No, they're not going to. The money that we're talking about was the money we allocated to the fireworks by itself. That was and some of the other things that they're going to do at the park. But no, they're not getting any of the 40,000. They want to shoot the fireworks off themselves. Our 40,000 is only going to be allocated to our citizens through Park and Rec events throughout the year.
Right, but I mean, kind of indirectly, we're now not spending this money that we were going to spend because they're paying for the fireworks.
Well, yeah, I guess well, I agree with you, Joel.
Yeah, but they also said.
Oh, no, yeah.
They also said if we do it, they're going to do it regardless, so they were going to do it, so. Yeah, so there would have been 2 fireworks shows, so now we're not going to do it. We'll support them, make sure we focus towards the casino to watch it instead of this way. So they shouldn't feel obligated to anything from us, but sponsorship or promoting it, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, so, because if they want money from us, it's too bad. We have no money.
Thank you for your comment. Christina, is anybody from the public, can they still go on? They can't do that anymore?
Yeah, they would email the city clerk, Cindy, but yeah, that won't be interactive, right?
Oh, okay. Cindy, let's just check emails just real quick before we.
And Mr. Mayor, while we're waiting and seeing, so what staff will do is we'll proactively start working on planning on this and having this conversation, for next year to have, that advance warning. We did let MCCS know about that today. We had a meeting today. because they asked a question today about, is there going to be fireworks in the community? And we answered, yes. So staff is appreciative of the casino and Chairman Mike doing this, and we will collaborate with them to make sure that in future years there is a synchronized process.
Well, just for the record, Mr. Mayor, I don't agree, but I'm good, majority rules, so.
I just want to go on the books as voting no, that I do not like the arrangements.
Well, we already, no emails? Okay. Well, in reality, it's already been decided what we're going to do. Tonight has to be, somebody has to make a motion to change it to not Sky Park, and we use our portion of the money, the 40,000, for other things besides the fireworks. That's really where we're at right now. So somebody will have to make a motion tonight to change it.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, there's actually two, just to resume recreational
Right.
activities post-COVID.
Right, the reopening and the 4th of July is what I wrote down. So, I mean, that's, the motion will be reopening adult and youth sports normal capacity on June 15th, and then to change the venue to not Sky Park.
So I make a motion to open up adult and youth sports after the restrictions are lifted on June 15th, 2021.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Did you want to do it in one motion, Cindy, or do you want it separate? Well, we already did, never mind, we already did it, excuse me. Okay, take a vote, please.
Councilmember Bilderrain,
Aye.
Councilmember Klink,
Aye.
Councilmember Wright,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ogilvy,
Aye.
Mayor Mitz.
Aye.
Approved 5-0.
Okay.
I make a motion with some reserve, I guess, but it has to be done that we participate with the casino and support their firework display, with us making arrangements in the future to do this separately and take turns with the base. I think I covered everything. And utilize the money saved towards other activities for the city.
Okay, I need a second. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Klink,
No.
Councilmember Wright,
No.
Councilmember Bilderrain,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ogilvy,
Aye.
Mayor Mitz.
Well, this is, I have notions for both, and I respect both the other council members. Actually, I respect all four of them. I didn't mean it like that. But I do respect the two no votes, and I'm only going to vote yes on this because I think it's for the citizens themselves. It's the best we can do. I don't think us getting into I guess a verbal fight at this point, this close to 4th of July for this whole event, it would not be advantageous for the city. So I am going to vote yes on this motion.
So as it stands, the motion that Councilmember Bilderrain was approved for 3-2.
Yes. And trust me, it's no fun being the last one to vote.
I have one question, though.
But other people have had that same situation, but we just all vote the way we think we should, so.
It was said by Councilmember Bilderman that the money would go, the 40,000 would go back to the city. Can't we earmark that for Park and Rec only?
Well, I believe that's,
Oh, okay. Okay.
well, yeah, that was my, I think that's what staff direction they got, that money was to stay with Park and Rec.
Okay.
To spend on future events, not on office supplies. Yeah, curb and gutter, yeah. Not a new chair for Carrie. Just kidding, okay. But thank you for clarifying that, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, item 17, Assembly Bill AB 821.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and I just got notice right before this meeting at like 5 o'clock. The author of this bill, Assemblymember Cooper, pulled this bill from requests from the Department of, let me pull it up here real quick, I apologize. Who did they pull it from? The Department of State Hospitals and the California Public Defenders requested him to pull this bill, which he has. So it's actually been pulled now. But just to describe it, what he was trying to do, this assembly member, and I'm assuming I didn't, research, he's an assembly member, a Democrat assembly member out of the Sacramento area, in the rural area outside of Sacramento. So my assumption is probably his community had a SVP, sexually violent predator, was dumped into their communities. And this legislation was going to help clarify some things. And a couple of the things that it was going to clarify right now, and Mayor and I actually went to the Sheriff's Department and we found out about the SVP, and their noticing period is only 30 days. So they told us 30 days later, and there was some delays, but they would place that SVP in a community 30 days. This bill would extend that period for 90 days. One of the bigger pieces of it was the discovery of documents. In this case, and any time that they try to put an SVP in a non-domicile or a domicile SVP, which is Orange County, into a non-domicile community, which is San Bernardino County, there has to be extenuating circumstances. And all those documents are sealed. We don't know what those extenuating circumstances are. And even as of today, the assistant DA still doesn't have those. This piece of legislation would allow discovery of these documents so we can understand that. Again, unfortunately, the author pulled, it was going to committee first committee, then the full assembly. But he pulled it today in opposition from Department of State Hospitals and the California Public Defenders. So
Do they say why?
did not. That's the only information I got from opposition from Department of State Hospitals and the California Public Defenders.
Well, that's interesting for the state hospitals. That was one of the things that the district attorney, she had mentioned several times, that they still hadn't received all the documentation from the person they're trying to locate to us, and that the last time in Joshua Street, they also got that information late. So it's almost like something they keep in their back pocket. It's unfortunate.
So, Mr. Mayor, if the council wants to support this letter, maybe, the author did pull it. Maybe for some reason it gets back on the agenda, so we have the letter at least available to support the bill if it does come back.
Well, it might change, and we might not support the way he changes it, so I'd rather we just pull it, if that's okay with the council, unless you guys want to do that. But, I don't know what kind of language he'd put into it. I read it the way that it was now, and I did support it, but he may change it to a fact where I don't support it, so I'd rather not can do that. Okay. Okay, nope, okay. We okay with just no?
Tabling it.
Okay, we're just tabling it, okay. So number 18, presentation of the preliminary 2-year general fund budget.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. And I have to apologize in advance. I'll probably be talking a lot, and I apologize about that. A lot of information.
Abigail, are you ready to do this? I'm just kidding.
And if it's okay, I'm going to probably take my mask off because it is difficult to speak during this. So the 2-year budget that's in front of you this evening is a preliminary budget. So this will be the first time that the council, the community get to kind of view that. So we're not looking for any approvals tonight, but some comments and maybe some recommendations, but no final approvals. The reason that we do a 2-year budget last November, Councilmember Klink, Councilmember Bilderain were reelected to the council. So this body, this 5-member body, will be together for this 2-year budget cycle. So hence why we're doing this 2-year budget currently. So in the beginning of this process, began in January when we brought the council, the community together from a strategic planning perspective. Just wanted to have a couple days, a Friday, Saturday, to discuss what all the priorities of the council were that kind of feeds into the development of the budget. Being your city manager now for over 6 years, I do understand some of the overarching policy directions that come from the council, some of which, or that some are, public safety, very supportive on the public safety, keeping our community safe, a fiscally sound government. We got to make sure our fiscal house is in order. Then finally, quality of life. Council has been always very, as we just had the discussion of the 4th of July, quality of life is very important. But as we went through, there were some specifics that came out of what your priorities were. And I'll read down through them fairly quickly and just kind of talk a little bit about them thereafter. Vacation home rental policy, off-highway vehicle, OHV enforcement, COVID relief and recovery, more bike paths, updating infrastructure and facilities, Lucky Park Pool, veterans resources, staff training, tear down blighted structures, healthcare district collaboration, healthcare options, and housing. Those were the items that the council has identified as priorities. Just to kind of talk a little bit more in depth on them. VHR policy. Within the budget to address this, staff has recommended for a couple reasons, one of which on VHR policy is to add an additional staff. So we would add another employee to the city, which would be a animal control officer / code enforcement officer. So they would cover the functions as needed in both departments. The animal control function is a 4-member team, 2 animal control officers, 2 technicians, and it's a 24/7 service. So when there's vacations, there's time off, there's holidays, it becomes very difficult. In the past, we used to use a lot of work release, but unfortunately, there's hardly any work release anymore with the policies of the state of California not putting people in prisons for lower crimes, so there isn't that work release opportunity. So on the other side, when I say 50-50, the other side would be code enforcement. How that ties to vacation home rentals is what the staff is going to be proposing is to address some of the concerns of the public, to have a second person in code enforcement. Right now, we have code enforcement is Department of 1. So when that person is sick, vacation, there is no code enforcement for that week. So this additional person, this half body, one of their prime goals will be vacation home enforcement. So that will at least hopefully address some of the concerns that are out there from the community, a dedicated person, for that enforcement. So moving on, off-highway vehicles, OHV enforcement, we heard that is an issue. The Sheriff's Department does have, and actually this past weekend, had some folks out to enforce this. The Sheriff's Department suffers from lack of cutting of funding for OHV enforcement. A couple of the strategies that we're looking at, one of which is the city gets $100,000 annually out of COPS fundings. It's for frontline law enforcement, that potentially we would use that to augment the Sheriff's Department budget for that enforcement, along with signage, keeping people away from areas that they shouldn't be in. So hopefully those couple steps can address that issue. More bike paths, the city continues to work on, which was on the consent calendar tonight, the Channel Trail, which is Adobe to Split Rock. That project is underway to add a connection between those 2 areas on the flood control channel. The staff continues to work on the Sullivan widening bike path along with Amboy. Potential funding, grant funding for the Amboy bike paths. So the staff continues to work on those extensions to comply with the council's directions. Updating facilities and infrastructure, kind of an overarching topic. Project Phoenix, although not listed specifically, part of updating facilities and infrastructure. Project Phoenix is underway and will be complete by next year in March. Wastewater treatment, the staff continues to work on the development of flood control, animal control facilities. Our animal control facility is outdated and is in desperate need of repair, so that is a priority that we have as well. In all city buildings, roofs on all the city buildings, Knott Sky Park development, Pioneer Park development, and roads. So all of those kind of fall into the updating facilities and infrastructure. Lucky Park Pool, we talked about last meeting, or not last meeting, but during strategic planning, that the pool is in desperate need of rehabilitation. As we talked about, the pool is, gosh, Carrie, how old is that pool? Old.
It was built in the early 50s.
Yeah, So old, and through the years, a lot of repairs and replacement and pool inside of a pool, and it's kind of used its useful life. The estimate that we talked about, in a high level, when we talked about it during strategic planning, was about $500,000. Our estimates now are anywhere between $1.5 million and $2 million for that same pool. No upgrades, just replacing that same pool. So within the budget, though, and the surplus that we have in our current year, we're able to allocate $1.5 million for that, and we're waiting to get better estimates, on that. Veterans Resources, Ms. Benton and I actually sat on a conference call last week, I think it was, with Moreno Valley. Moreno Valley has, labeled themselves as the most veteran-friendly community in the Inland Empire, and we kind of looked at some of the things that they are doing, more events, and trying to bring resources to the events, connecting veterans to resources with the incentive of an event. So we're going to be working towards that to accomplish that. Staff training, we will, and we through the presentation, we'll talk a little bit more about it. Having some educational reimbursements as part of our budget to incentivize some of our employees to go back to school to get their associates, their bachelor's, their master's degree, to build that knowledge base within the city. It is a typical thing that cities do, but have some kind of a contract. I know the healthcare district does that with nurses. We'll pay your education, if you will, or a portion of, but you have to stay here for X amount of years. So some kind of a program like that. Tear down dilapidated, blighted buildings. The city continues to work on. We do have $80,000 in the budget, in our special funds budget, for the tear down of these buildings. Sometimes it becomes kind of costly. The burnt down building on Adobe, the asbestos mitigation is $20,000 plus another $20,000 to tear it down. So the resources that we do have, although they seem like a lot, $80,000, this one building costs $40,000. So we continue to work on it to tear down, as the council's directed, those blighted buildings in our community. Health district collaboration. I have a meeting this Thursday, a couple days, with Jackie Combs from the healthcare district. We heard from the council, we need more options, this kind of ties to quality of life from a healthcare option. I think I've heard urgent care and other things that, are needed here, and we'll see what we can collaborate with them and possibly, accomplish that goal. Then finally is housing. We do not have any money in our budget for housing outside of Project Phoenix resources. Housing has been a very difficult, has been a challenge. The infill of housing, meaning that one house here, that one house there, scattered through the community, is a relatively easy, I shouldn't say easy, but something that is doable. Anything on a larger scale, a tract development, apartment development, a low to moderate income housing development, that you see in a lot of communities has been a challenge. The main reason for this challenge is our lack of sewer. A package treatment plant and the operation of a package treatment plant become a very big obstacle to overcome. As we see with Project Phoenix, the operations of it are costly. It's just not as efficient as a main system. So we continue to work with this with some of our partners that are out there, but that has been one of those obstacles that we run into, the lack of sewer to develop larger scale housing. So that is the priorities of the council that we have been incorporating into our budget. Some of the things that also are part of the budget I just want to briefly talk about before we get into the PowerPoint. Also attached to the staff report is the detail. So the council, the community, the detail of the budget is attached to the staff report. I won't go through the minutia of it, but I just will talk about the bigger pieces of it as my notes kind of pop up here. Sorry. So the big increase that we have seen in this budget, and we'll show in a graph a little later, has been the growth in TOT, specifically relating to vacation home rentals. Just by way of example of the increase, we have through the first 3 quarters of the fiscal year. Our fiscal year begins July 1st, and we're currently just ended our quarter March 31st. When we look at the prior year versus the 2 years ago versus the current year that we're in, the TOT from vacation home rentals 2 years ago brought in $133,000 for those 9-month period. This past year that ended just March 31st has brought in $419,000. So the vacation home rental has been increasing. When we did our budget based on the TOT, we're fairly conservative on it, not knowing where the policy is going to come from the council on that. So we were fairly conservative as we've been planning, the TOT budget. With the retirements last year, and adding a person and a half as new employees, along with step increases in COLA, so adding all that together, our total compensation of the city actually decreased by $13,000. So, again, through those retirements that we had last year, adding a new body, a half-time body to Project Phoenix for maintenance, COLAs and step increases, we're actually decreasing our total compensation by $13,000. We have added Project Phoenix in part in this current year because it won't be done till March. So it has its own department. So that will be fully staffed at that time. We are anticipating about $30,000 worth of revenue. That is somewhat of a swag. We're anticipating some things, but until we really build some history and knowing what we'll be charging for, that is somewhat of a guess that's out there. But we kind of earmarked $30,000 of revenue that we'll generate from the building, and operating expenses will be about $150,000 to operate the building. In addition to that, as we talked about sewer, we went through that sewer analysis with our businesses. The general fund had to subsidize the sewer operation in Project Phoenix to the tune of $67,000. So that is in the cost as well. PERS, PERS has adjusted the earnings estimates and life expectancy of the program. As the council will recall, we paid off our PERS debt 2-3 years ago, I think it was, about $3 million. And over the last couple years, and it hit our actuarial now, they've increased life expectancy. I mean, fortunately for us individually, I guess bad for us as an organization, people are living longer, which increases our liability. So a liability did pop up with PERS, looking at their reanalysis of the actuarial to the tune of $469,000. We still carry the fire pension, so we're still carrying the Water District's fire pension, waiting for the 20-year Treasury bonds to get in the range of a 3.5% to 4% before we pay off that debt. So when we're kind of running through the budget, these were the timeframes that we kind of looked at, for we're going to have four of these meetings, 2 preliminary budgets to look at our general fund, our special funds, then 2 proposals to adopt the general fund and the special funds. We need to have a budget in place by July 1st, and this schedule kind of laid out. I am going to work with the council, though. I think we have, because of summer schedules, we have a couple council members that can't make a couple of the meetings, and it's important to all council members to always have 5, especially during big meetings like this. So we'll adjust this schedule to accommodate the council's schedule once we can kind of get that schedule put together. When we look about big picture, everything that I just talked about, we kind of incorporated into the budget. The year that we're in, or going into fiscal year 21-22, we're seeing a surplus. So in that year, again, we're seeing that increase of TOT revenue, and it's not only TOT revenue, it's property tax revenue. We see all the the increases of the housing prices that are in our community, and we're reaping those benefits on the revenue side. Project Phoenix, as mentioned earlier, is not going to be in place until March. So this is only a quarter of that cost. And as you can see, we're seeing a surplus in this current year. In year two, however, we're seeing a deficit. And again, when we propose this at the end, this will be a balanced budget. But this is just kind of going through the process so the council can kind of see kind of where we're at the current time frame. So it is showing a deficit of 41,000. That encompasses, though, one entire year of Project Phoenix. Project Phoenix will be in operation in that second year for 12 months. So we're seeing that potential structural issue in that second year. What's not in this budget, I just want to let the council be aware of as we talk about not Sky Park, as we talk about Pioneer Park from Prop 68's perspective. That's in the third year, not a part of this 2-year budget. But and I feel confident that we'll be successful at least one, hopefully both of those. That will put further stress, if you will, on the general fund because we'll have to staff those. We'll have electricity, we'll have water, we'll have seeds, we'll have lots of things that we'll have to pay for during those. So just to kind of plant that with the council. This is a chart that I always show to the council each and every year. The point here, and it'll illustrate it a little clearer a little later, these are our big four revenues streams. It's property tax, it's TOT tax, it's franchise fees, and sales tax. So those are our big four that is, a good portion of our revenue, 78% of our revenue. And as you can see, it's good and bad, right? We're stable. Our revenue is stable. We're not high growth, so our community, based on what we have, a great community that we have, just grows at a very, slow pace. And that kind of illustrates it. Conversely speaking, when we look at our law enforcement contract, one of our biggest contracts within the city, as you can see, a little different story there. We've gone from 17-18, from a $3.5 million contract from the Sheriff's Department to our current proposed of 21-22 is what we have proposed. The following year, we've got it as an estimate, but the estimate is almost up to $4.7 million. So in that time frame, that was the increase of that, and our revenues got to support that. This next slide kind of illustrates this a bit. If you look at, the big four revenues, which is that, burnt orange color. The blue, rightfully so, is law enforcement. And you have to throw out 19-20. Obviously, 19-20 was COVID year, so, revenues kind of dropped in that year. But overall speaking, if you look at it per year, going back to 17-18, our big four revenues brought in almost, almost 500,000, with law enforcement at 200,000 of that. In the following year, their big four was a little over 300,000 with 232 in law enforcement increases, and you can see the trend through the years. So, because those increases not only got to pay for law enforcement, it's got to pay for everything else within our budget that increases. And so that's the challenge that we have each and every year to figure out how to balance that budget. From a workforce perspective, this is that green, and the green is our total resources of the city. Those early years, if you look at it, fiscal year 10, 11, 12, the council, as you recall, we had a lot of reserves at that time, and we allocated a lot of those reserves to projects. So those are a little skewed at that time frame. But if you look after that, our revenues are relatively consistent, total revenues of what we do from a general fund to, special projects. And the purple is our staffing levels, is our total compensation levels. And as you can see on that, we're maintaining, a consistent, level there. The two line graphs at the top there, one in population, I put that in there. But more importantly, probably is the red one, is number of employees. And you can see, we've been kind of consistent of number of employees as well during that same time frame. So it just gives you a perspective of our spending, because those are two of our biggest costs, our employee labor costs and the sheriff's costs. Those are, two of the biggest portions of our budget. If we go down to, these are all of our expenses, department expenses. And I highlight these in red, and I'm going to skip this chart because really it was due to COVID, of all these anomalies that are out there. Fiscal year, 2021, there was a lot of cutting of expenses, no travel, some employees, positions weren't filled. So if you could look at the 2021 forecast versus the preliminary 21-22, you see large deviations that are out there, all of which are kind of due to that COVID and the change of expenditures that we had during that time frame. If we fast forward to the preliminary 21-22, our 2-year budget, to kind of see the delta between the 2 years, now you see kind of normalcy kind of setting back in, kind of throwing out that that COVID time frame. Council, you see kind of an increase in costs there, and that's mainly across the board. Training in these 2-year budgets, we've brought back training halfway in year 1. And the reason we brought it halfway in year 1, we don't know if how much travel is going to completely be back as it relates to training. So we brought training back 50% in the first year, fully back into the second year, figuring that COVID will be completely out of the equation at that time. Non-departmental, the reason that the big decrease there in year 2 is primarily due to the transfers. So how we do that is if we have surplus in that year, we'll transfer that money out from our general fund into our capital projects to do projects. That non-departmental there, we were transferring money out to the projects. At the time of printing this budget, it was about $500,000 towards the pool, which we've heard earlier is going to be about $1.5 million to $2 million. Year 2 to that, we don't have any transfers in there yet. Our capital projects haven't fully materialized at this point, so that was the deviation at that point. Economic development, you see a big decrease, and they're not big dollars, and that's one of the things that towards the end of this presentation I'm asked to add back in. Typically, we have about $10,000 in economic development dollars to do various things to promote our city, and I think we need to add those back, and that'll bring that back to normalcy. Going down to the bottom there, public works, street sweeping. You see the big increase there, and this contributes actually to the year 2 of that deficit. Again, I'll just kind of wind back here so you can kind of take a look at it and fast forward again, as we could see that deficit in year 2 of $41,000. And running back to the department analysis here, that public works. So I know Councilmember or Mayor Mintz and Councilmember Wright are on the MBTA board. The MBTA primarily is funded by LTF, it's local transportation funds, and Article 8, which is the same funding source. There was a discussion, I think, several years ago with the members of the MBTA board because the primary goal of that money, LTF and Article 8, is transit. Cities then get the, quote unquote, leftovers of those monies. So our transit agency was very efficient and still is very efficient, but they have continued pressures of cost, primarily electrifying their vehicles and other things that are out there, that they have to take 100% of that LTF Article 8 money. The city used that Article 8 LTF money to pay a portion of our public works staff, which is about $108,000. And because of the elimination of that, we've got to bring it back into the general fund at this point. So that's another, so that's in year 2, that's contributing to that deficit that's there. And there's an alternative that I'll talk a little later to the council on. Then finally is community services, that's Project Phoenix. So in that year 1, Project Phoenix was only in play beginning in March. And in the second year, it's going to be in for the entire 12 months.
Frank, I just want to make a comment on the city council item. As long as I've been on it since 2010, we have never spent that amount. The council's never spent that whole amount.
Which amount?
The 58,000, and now you're going back up. I'm just telling the public, we've never spent that much money.
Yeah, most of that, and just going to the department, just to address that, there's labor, the council stipends in there, all the benefits. The biggest piece is training and travel. And to the mayor's point, that piece of it is allocated for training but not spent. Moving on here, so these are the three departments here that are associated with revenue. They are community services, which are recreations, community development, which is planning and development and building and safety, along with animal control. The blue is our revenues, I don't know what color that is, reddish color, I think, I don't know. Whatever color that is, rust. That is the expenses. I mean, ideally, in an ideal world, you would want it to be paying for itself 100%, but that's not realistic, right? So, but what the goal is from the staff is to keep that delta between revenue and expenditures the same each and every year, not to let that margin kind of grow. So we have, as the council approved last year's fee study, to increase our fees by COLA each year. And so we will, at least proposed in the budget, be increasing all of our fees by 1.7%, which is the current COLA. This gives a chart of, where our money comes from, in majority property tax. That's definitely where 59% of it, almost 60% of it comes from property tax. So at the time of printing the budget, again, this is a preliminary budget. There were some things that we did not get included in this preliminary budget that we want to just point out and ask a question a little later. One is economic development dollars that we asked earlier. We omitted that from the preliminary budget, and we probably need that in there again to help promote our city, to do various things, maybe to go to ICSC and other packages that we typically put out. Staff education and reimbursement. As we mentioned earlier, it was a staff or a council priority. We're still working on this program. We actually sent an email to staff to see who would be interested in education. We think that probably we should put like $25,000 towards a program like that, and we're looking at it in comparison to other cities that have a similar program. Another item, at printing this agenda, I just met with, and all the city managers just met with the sheriff last week. And I think a very good policy. I know the sheriff has been very diligent in his research of body cameras, and he has now made the decision to move forward with body cameras for all the deputies. I think from an operational perspective, it's a very good thing to do, but we need to start planning for it from a resource perspective. And they still have to go out for bid and everything, but it looks like it's going to be $1,200 per deputy per year. And that's about, I think, $12,000 to $13,000 annually, depending on how many deputies that we have. We don't have any additional PERS funding in the budget. In talking to the captain and the lieutenant, their staffing levels from law enforcement is adequate, so no additional manpower. And again, as mentioned earlier, there's not Sky Park, Pioneer Park cost in this budget. It wouldn't, if we're successful in a grant, which we'll know this summer, it wouldn't be operational until year 3 of this two-year budget cycle. The other thing within the strategic planning, and I may have missed it, I don't think I remember talking about, is COVID relief and recovery. Council did recognize that as something that as a priority. So with the American Recovery Act, there are going to be funds in there for that. The details of the American Recovery Act is, so the legislature passed it. The Treasury is they're writing the rules of it. So that's what we're waiting for, the Treasury to come out with the rules. But part of that, giving the council's direction, is to come up with some kind of a COVID relief and recovery for our citizens and our businesses in our community. So that to be determined soon. Then finally, there is no housing funds inside our budget outside of what we have for Project Phoenix. As discussed earlier, that is, as we're seeing and we're hearing, is that the wastewater is definitely something that is an obstacle for development. So a couple of things. One, we're just looking for general comments, questions, concerns that you have in the budget. Are you okay, with the items not added in the budget? And those are to add them out into the next one, which are the economic development dollars, staff education and reimbursement, and the body cameras. Are you okay adding those in there for the next round? You know, and this is a question, but I already think I know the answer. You know, you don't want a deficit spending budget. So when we bring this back to you, we will have a balanced budget. So that's a question. We are going to add so this is probably two-part here. CPI is 1.7%. So we were going to add that to the fees, and as it relates to employees, you know, so COLA, that would be that same amount for COLA to the employees, which is approximately about $40,000 of an increase. But as mentioned earlier, with the COLA, with the step increases, with the new body that's coming in as it relates to the code enforcement, animal control officer, and the Project Phoenix half person, with those retirements last year, our total compensation dollars are down $13,000 overall. The other one is Public Works. As mentioned earlier, the elimination of Article 8 LTF. You do have an option on this. I recommend keeping it in the general fund, but the city gets through Measure I funding and SB1 funding, which is our roads funding, about $1 million a year. We can use a portion of that to pay this labor that otherwise was in LTF and Article 8, but it takes away from our roads money, or things that we fill our potholes, repair our roads and everything. So my recommendation is to keep it in the general fund. We're gonna have to figure out how to balance that, but you do have an option to, you know, take it against, you know, a roads funding.
Can that be changed later if it looks like we're running into a little budget problem? Can we revert that back, or do we have to, if once we do it, we're
Yeah, you can
stuck?
revert it. Yeah, it's not in perpetuity, so it could be a
Okay.
year-to-year decision.
What about a mid-year decision?
Could be even a mid-year decision.
Okay, thank
So, stuttering there, I apologize. My only caveat there is Measure I, each and every year, they forecast what we're gonna use Measure I for. So by my mid-year, we would just have to pass a resolution that would go back to their changing. So there's a procedure to change it, so I guess the answer to your question is absolutely you can.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Then finally is adding those positions, two positions, one full-time, one part-time, animal control officer / code, and a half part person that would be, you know, maintaining Project Phoenix. Those are the positions that we were at. Those are just some of the questions. There may be other comments, questions, concerns of the council that I'd be happy to answer, and just looking for direction.
I got two. One, for the education for the employees that go for tech schools too, like
Yeah.
HVAC courses, sign the same contract.
No, absolutely.
They get behind, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And longevity pay, I know you said you had the steps increase. I know we talked about longevity pay for the last 2 years. Is that?
So, yeah, so our, within our budget, and this is part of a bigger thing. So last year with COVID, our liability, knock on wood, PARSAC, which is our insurance, you know, nothing was happening last year, right? So, you know, knock on wood, things weren't happening. There wasn't the liability that typically we would have. So PARSAC actually returned, and PARSAC, just for the public's knowledge, we're self-insured through a JPA with 43 other cities. And so they returned back to the cities, you know, a portion of our premiums that paid. To the city of 29 Palms, they returned $98,000 to us. So we're going to use that for a wage and comp analysis that will partially include, you know, a longevity analysis as well.
That's a yes.
So COF, which is the agency that will look at it, they'll look at it and they'll give a proposal. They'll do the analysis.
So we're getting a proposal back on what the increase should be.
Yes, they'll give an analysis of, there's going to be lots of analysis that COF will do. So COF, what they are is a total compensation company. So what they will do is look at agencies similar to us.
Yeah.
And look at total compensation. So it'll be wages, it'll be benefits, the whole array of things, and make a recommendation to us as it relates to comparisons to that. Some of the things that we will look at are longevity. Some of the things that we will look at is, and we see this a lot in different areas, most cities do it's not a merit pay, right? So it's a step increase. So you stay here a year, in our case, you get a 2.5% step.
Yeah.
So if you're exceptional, if you're mid-range, if you're average, you, in the system that we're in, gets, the same thing. A lot of cities are looking now at more merit-based pay. So all those various things will be looked at and brought back to the council for approval.
Yeah. I'll just say, because when we changed the pay, the increases, when we changed that 3-4 years ago, we made that change from the 2.5.
the steps?
Yeah, the steps.
Yeah, something around that range.
3 or 4 years ago. So now we have our senior maxed out, stepped out people, 3.5 years, they have not received anything because of this crazy things, and they're
Yeah, COLA they received, but no step.
step increase. And so we have a lot of senior experience not getting anything, while everyone else underneath them just continues to get steps, and they're sitting up here just because they're bottomed out. They're not getting. I just kind of like after 3 or 4 years, it gets kind of like, man, I'm still here doing my job, and everyone's getting raises but myself, and I'm here with all the experience. So waiting for another agency to come tell us what we should be doing is just another long drawing process for these experienced people. And I just don't see, and there's a lot of them. I mean, I looked at that roster we went over, there's a lot of senior stepped out people. I'd hate to lose them because they want to retire early just because they feel like, well, I'm just sitting here wasting air, but they're not. They're really, we need them. We need these people. So want the young to come in and take over eventually, but we cannot lose our senior people. So we got to do something faster than an agency that's going to take their time. So put some fire under them, make sure they get this done in a speedy.
Yeah,
I know we can't make up our own numbers, but let's just not like put it on the back burner, because we need to get this resolved, because we got some people just it's not right, because some guy comes in, starts working 4 years ago, he's already had 2 pay increases in theory, and there's people who've been here 4 years after 19, 17 years, and they haven't got nothing in 4 years. So something to show our gratitude besides a pin and a plaque at the Christmas party. So all right, that's all I got. That's the only question I had.
So, so what are you looking for direction on each item that, on the one before that?
Yeah, the ones that I put up on there, but even anything additional. Again, this is, first presentation to it. These are some of the things that I put out there for direction and approval, but it's not limited to any of those. If there was any other comments, as Councilmember Bilderain had a comment on the budget, if there's any other, questions or comments or concerns.
Well, obviously, we're not voting on this tonight, so when we vote on it, it'd be more details. But does anybody have any other comments they want to make in there? Or
This isn't if we want something else added into the general.
Yeah, this is
Now?
the time, yeah.
Oh, well, I think you and I discussed, they did the banners for the PAC. You go to Ridgecrest, and Ridgecrest has banners on their flagpoles, and they have pictures of high school graduates that went into the military, and they're on each light pole throughout the whole city with the name of the person, and then underneath you could have the emblem of the military that they serve. And let's honor them, I think, that way. If we, it's kind of cool to have something like that. So that's something that I'd like to see looked at.
And just by way of example, as mentioned earlier, those 45 banners that was approved by the PAC was about $3,800. So.
Yeah, I saw another city too that had like a generic, it was a silhouette of a service member, and then
Even
the
that,
actual
huh?
banner was like a silhouette of a flag. So yeah. But,
well, some
either
kind
one, I think
of
it's great.
some kind of banner representing a thank you for your service type banners.
Yeah, so we'll put some resources in there. Obviously, the details of it will still work out. But
Yeah.
from a budget perspective, we'll get the dollars in.
I think Ontario has been doing that for quite some time now.
Yeah, Fontana does it. They ask the parents, and they give a boot camp picture, and the parent pays like $125, and that boot camp picture goes on the banner, and then it has their name and everything on there. So they, but the parents, also give $125 for. and
To
the-
help.
And the service member's picture, it will be a boot camp picture, but, so they do that at Fontana, so.
I like the pictures being on there.
Yeah.
That'd be cool if we could do it.
So, yeah, so staff's got that. Sounds like a consensus. We'll get that in the budget.
Yeah, I like how you, shortened the PowerPoint slides, but you did all the other stuff before the first slick, yeah.
And yeah, you did skip over the COVID.
So some of these, are you okay with those items not added in the budget? Again, economic development, staff education, and, obviously the deputy body cams, we're gonna have to budget for those, but are you okay with adding all of those?
I am.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, so we'll get those in those next round. Again, I'll ask the question, but you don't want a deficit spend. So that year two, we'll have a balanced budget. That's the priority of council, right? So CPI, and again, this is, for rates and fees, along with our COLA from our staff, CPI is 1.7. So that will be added to our fee schedule along with our staff.
Okay.
I see nodding heads, okay. Then Public Works, right now, and as the mayor mentioned earlier, right now it's got in the general fund, it's $102,000. I think I may have said 108, but $102,000 that's taken towards the general fund in Public Works. You okay with keeping it in there now? It's a deficit. We're trying to massage it and try to, get it to where it needs to be, but it's in there right now due to that issue. And as the mayor mentioned earlier, if you ever wanted to change it against roads money, you can, but at least for now, trying to get it in the general fund to preserve that roads money. Then adding those new positions. You okay with adding those two, 1.5, I should say, new positions? Any other guidance or direction from the council?
Well, that sounds like we're ready for you to move forward with it.
Okay. And just to kind of go backwards, I guess, just to kind of get some of these dates. May 11th and May 8th, May 11th and June 8th, maybe 2 dates where we won't have all 5 council members. So what I was thinking is there's actually 3 Tuesdays, if you look at the calendar. There's 3 Tuesdays in the month of June. So we can accomplish the schedule if we meet in June 29th. Does that work for the council? Everybody's got their phones out looking at. And what we'll probably end up doing is, probably canceling that June 8th meeting, then just having June 22nd and June 29th.
I'm okay with 29th.
That work for everybody? Okay. So we'll be able to accomplish this schedule, which leads to the end of the fiscal year, the beginning of the next fiscal year, July 1st.
All right, so it'll be no May 11th meeting. We're just going to go May 25th.
Well, I may still do no pun intended, I still may do the May 11th meeting. Because there is a kitchen, Project Phoenix kitchen thing that I may have to bring forward, but at least from a budget, because the budget is a big document, like to have all 5 members here. So we may have a little quick meeting May 11th.
Oh, okay. So we're still saying that, but we're just adding the 29th.
Yeah, and getting rid of probably
And
the
not
June
the
8th.
8th.
And not the 8th. Okay. All right, well, I just want to know, for in case I have to adjourn the meeting to May 25th or something. Okay, so looks like we're just deleting May 8th and adding the 29th.
Because you don't know if you're going to cancel the May 11th meeting, you can just leave it as is.
Leave it
and
as
then
is.
we'll put
Okay.
a cancellation notice if need be.
Okay. Okey doke. All right, future council initiated items. Anybody have any items they'd like to add?
I do. I would like to add racism as a public health emergency. Some of the other, on the national level, on the county level, have spoken on this, and I think that we're kind of quiet and we need to discuss this.
We have a second. So just to clarify it so staff can prepare for it, just maybe some sample resolutions and things that other cities have done to declare this as a national emergency.
Or what the county has done itself.
Perfect, yeah, perfect.
I don't have anything to add to it. I just was wondering, with Caltrans doing all of the work on Highway 62 and we got that $600-some thousand for the curb, is that going to be done while they are doing this?
Yeah, so we actually had a meeting with Caltrans, today's Tuesday, I think it was last Wednesday, I think it was. They will be done with the project on 62 by schedule. Things can happen. They said it could rain and other things, but by schedule, it'll be done by the end of May. So, once they're done with the ADA ramps, that's the first thing they have to do. Next thing would be is overlay 62. So they'll put an overlay over it. And so they'll be done with all of that by by the end of May, May 29th, I think they said.
But that curb by Stater Brothers is going to go in with that?
You mean the
median?
Median.
Oh, that's a separate project, sorry. Yeah, that's a completely separate project. We're in a design phase right now of it, which is separate from this curb, or this ADA ramp and overlay project.
So it's going to be take up the pavement when we have to put the median in there then again?
They'll have to put the median mile in there, yeah. So, yeah, it did not sync up time-wise.
Okay.
Okay, move on to public comments. This is the time for the public to address the city council on issues within the jurisdiction of the city council that is not on this agenda. All comments are to be directed to city council and shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during their comments. This is a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out a name and address slip and give it to the city clerk. City council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not included on the printed agenda. Public comments on specific items will be referred to consideration in the item on the agenda. Do we have any slips? No, we have no slips. Does anybody in the public want to make a public comment? Okay, seeing none, city manager update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The one update I was going to give is Caltrans. This Caltrans project, was a project that was planning for a long time. They were going to start either in Desert Hot Springs or 29 Palms. They started in 29 Palms. We've been pretty, although Caltrans didn't give us enough warning when they started, that was one of our, issues with them during our meeting last Wednesday. And as per their contract, and one of the things we said, you need to fix your contract. They don't have to tell, once they award the contract, I think they have up to, 60 days to start the project, and there's no noticing from the contractor to Caltrans. So they did not know, nor did they, let the city know when they were starting. But we reacted that pretty quickly thereafter. We've been working with the businesses that have been impacted with that, and as mentioned earlier, we'll be done with our project by the end of May. We did coordinate with them because we had enough advance warning with it with Project Phoenix. So they are not going to be doing the curb and gutter, the ADA ramps on Yucca Avenue, but they will, and they are doing them on Tamara's, Smoke Tree, and Choya. So they are doing those. We don't have to the point of ripping things out. So that was coordinated pretty timely. Project Phoenix, the site improvements are going. If you have been down there recently, I know Mr. Shopner said he took some pictures, I think, today. The footings of the buildings are starting to go in, so the building is now underway. Obviously, you got to start with the buildings and work your way up, but the footings are the first thing that they're working on. March of next year is still on target for that, and now we're working through the process of the operationally, and even with Joshua Tree National Park and staffing it, we're getting down to that nuance of opening the building. I know Carrie and her team are, starting to have in sight now the operation of that. That, Mr. Mayor, is, the biggest issue that's been out there. We continue to work with our wastewater project. As council is aware, we've got $1 million for the development of our wastewater project. We continue to work through the design of that and the outreach of that. Our congressman, with earmarks that came back to the federal government, our congressman may put us in the earmark category for our wastewater. We haven't got the decision on that yet, but we continue to work towards that project. So the big focus from staff has been the budget during this time frame of the year, and looking forward to completing that with, again, a balanced budget that we submit to the council and the public. And that's all my updates.
Okay, any questions for Frank on the, okay? Seeing none, all right, this meeting is adjourned.